Hey guys, today I want to talk about a sword that I've had for quite a long time now, about 6 or 7 months. It is the Regenyei Standard Feeder. Just panning that past the camera so you can take a look. So, this is the standard model of Regenyei's feeder. I got mine with a box schilt, which there's actually a few different types of schilt that he offers. I like the box schilt because it's very simple but still allows you to catch blades. There's also a crown schilt, which has more of a pronounced prong shape, which is a little better for catching blades, I suppose. And there's also one that's called, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's Tervanya or Travanya, which is a very thick schilt, which doesn't catch so much, but is very rugged and will take just a savage beating. This is, again, the standard feeder, so there's not much special going on. It has the standard pommel that he uses, which is just a sort of a, I'm not sure what to call the shape, a nice spherical pommel here. It's got a black cord-wrapped grip, and this is the standard crossguard as well. On the standard tournament feeder, you'll see that he has a crossguard which has rings coming out of the sides. This is just the standard feeder, so it's very much more basic than that one even. The hilt, the grip is about 32 centimeters long, or just about a foot, and the blade, which is much longer here, is 100 centimeters, or right about 4 feet. So overall this is about a 5-foot sword. I'm just going to pan that by again real quick. It does have a rolled tip. Sorry, just trying to get that in there to make it, the rolled tip is basically to make thrusting safer, and I've accomplished many thrusts with this sword without hurting somebody, so that's always good. The edges, I believe, are about 3 millimeters thick, so they're very thick. You'll notice that mine have taken quite a beating. What's interesting about this sword is that I haven't had to really do much filing or maintenance on the edge, where a lot of my other blunts I've had to do tons of maintenance because they're not rolled as well. The edges on this sword are really nice. They maintain that bluntness very well. So the use of this sword. This is basically a fencing longsword, or a sparring longsword. This is what we would use. You'll see a lot of these in tournaments because this is just a very, almost one of the standards for feeders out there. I think the only other feeder that is anywhere near as popular is the Ensifer feeder, and they are both very good. I will probably do a comparison of this one and the Ensifer in the future, because again, I think they're both really, really good feeders, and it'd be nice just to get some comparative data on the two. So I picked this up, both as a training sword for class, and because I was getting more interested in sparring and, you know, picking up my education, as it were. And this is a really good sword for doing that. You could use this sword for classroom activities, just doing technique, partner drills, things like that. In our class we typically don't, because we use swords that are more towards a typical length. The Angus trim I-beam is what we use in class a lot for partner drills, and this one is a bit longer. I would say it's about probably about 4 to 6 inches longer than your standard longsword. May even be more than that. I'll have to do a comparison, to be honest. But yeah, so when you use this in class against people who are using an Angus trim I-beam, it has a bit more reach, and so I like to basically keep this dedicated for sparring, a dedicated sparring weapon, if you will, and use my longsword blunt for doing things in class that, you know, might not spare the edge of this one so well. Yes, so things to say about this sword. I really like the balance on this sword when, I'm trying not to go off camera here, but basically when you have this sword in hand, or just relaxing, it has excellent weight. When you're sparring and doing free play, this thing moves really, really well. You're able to, you know, very quickly move it around and sort of maneuver this sword, as it were, very, very fast. It's really, really good. Once again with the camera, I noticed that as I move the blade, the camera is kind of creating an effect where it looks like it's wobbly. It is not. This is a very rigid steel weapon, and it does not wobble. This, I think, is the standard, his standard blade, by the way. I do think he makes a heavier one, so if you want one with more weight for your own training purposes or just for added durability, I do believe that's an option. I mentioned that he has different shilts. He also has different crossguards you can choose from. He can do a leather grip. He can do a leather grip with a riser. He can do different pommels. Regenyei, if you tell him what you want, he'll make it. He's a really good guy. Let's see. So the only issues I've had with this sword are very, very minuscule ones, really. Again, there was the issue where against a standard sized longsword, it's a little bit long, so it can make training a little bit weird if you're paired with a feeder against somebody who has a standard longsword length sword, as it were. Because the person who has this one is always going to have more reach. So in terms of just, equalizing things, it's better if you train with this against another feeder of similar length. There was one issue towards the end here, the last 3 to 4 inches maybe. Actually, how many is that? 1, 2. Yeah, it's about 3 or 4 inches here towards the tip. There was a little bit of a bend, and I'm not sure if it originated from just heavy use in the past 6 or 7 months, or if I just dropped my heavy gear bag on it in the car, which is honestly just as likely. Whatever it was, I was actually able to basically bend it back into shape by hand. I didn't have to use tools or anything. I essentially just did this. Just grabbed the top of the blade and flexed it sort of back into shape very carefully. Just doing this repeated back and forth kind of motion. And that sort of returned it to its edge. It's still a little bit off, but if it becomes a serious issue, you can always contact Regenyei and he can take a look at it for you. Or you can contact a number of smiths in the United States as well. Other than that, though, this has been an extremely solid sword. And again, I'd like to do a comparison of it against the Ensifer feeder, because I feel that this feeder and the Ensifer feeder are the two most popular, as it were, the most used in tournaments, as it were. Just very solid, excellent sparring swords, as it were. I'm trying to think of anything else to say about this, really. So let's just go over this again. This is the standard feeder. It's very nimble during sparring. It is longer than your standard longsword, so during partner drills and things, you probably want to pair longsword against longsword, feeder against feeder, just to keep the ranging and everything equal. There are a number of options for customization. If you want yours to look or feel any different, Peter will definitely take a look at that for you. I ordered mine through Scott Brown, who is basically the contact for Regenyei in the United States. I'll post a link down to Regenyei's website and to Scott Brown's Facebook page, which is the easiest way to contact him. I'll post those down at the bottom of the video so you can take a look for yourself and see what's available. Overall, though, just very impressed. I mean, I've had this for about 6 or 7 months. It has maintained just constant heavy use without breaking. There have been very rare instances of Regenyei feeders breaking in tournaments. There was a recent one, which I saw a picture of, but I need to find a video, where it actually broke right here. Right at the top of the shield, or sorry, the bottom of the shield and the top of the crossguard. I have no idea how that happened. I'm looking for the video and more information, but if something like that were to happen, it would basically be because the tempering is bad, or, just a bad egg, basically. So far, I know of many people, honestly, who own this sword, but personally I know 2 or 3 people who own this or very similar feeder, and we have had no issues with it. Other than, the occasional bend at the tip, we've had no breakages, we've had no major failures, no one has sustained injury because of this sword either. it tends to, because the blade is nice and light, it tends to hit solid enough that you know you're getting hit in a sparring match, but not so hard that it really, rings your bell like some of the heavier swords will tend to do. And let's see, so I went over the length real quick. The weight is 1.4 kilograms. I'm not sure what that is in pounds. I'll have to do the conversion and post it down there as well. But the balance is excellent. Most of the weight is towards the hilt, really. I'll try to do a point of balance here, very roughly. Oh, this isn't going well. This is an awkward sword to balance as well. So yes, very close to the hilt, basically. So you've got all that movement and leverage, so you can really move the tip around nicely. Very precise. Yeah, so that is the Peter Regenyei standard feeder. If you have any questions, please post them, and I'll get right on that. And yeah, thank you for watching.